Hi, welcome back to the Custom Model Guy and what is going to be the last episode of the Revell 2013 Ford Mustang build. So this episode we're looking at the final touches. I started off with some Zero Paints matte black and painted some bits up like the radiator grills and some of the engine components. And with those parts finished, I masked off some of the areas on the bodywork to add some matte black to those. For example, like the air intake grills, and there were some panels on the front and the back, and roof strips that needed some matte black. With those parts finished, I got out the Auto Glim Super Resin Polish just to buff up the bodywork. Paying careful attention not to actually get this on the matte black sections, as that will ruin the look. And once it's dry, use a separate cloth and buff it off. And once that was finished, I used some Auto Glim Extra Gloss Protection. This is a very thin liquid that you just brush onto the surface. It dries to a sheen, and then you just buff it off as if it's normal polish. And it just gives an extra glossiness to the bodywork. once that was done, we moved on with some Vallejo chrome, and I painted the inside of the light buckets, and this has the effect of creating a shine through the clear lens part. And whilst I had some of the chrome out, I painted the engine strut, which is the support which crosses the top of the engine. And once that was complete, I decided I wanted the window frames to be in matte black, so I masked up the entire model and hit that with some Zero Paint's matte black again. And then I used some Vallejo matte black on the wipers and the window vents. I've speeded this up so it doesn't take up quite so much time. This just gives that area there a little bit more detail rather than just being in the solid blue. And with that complete, it was time to move on to the windows, and they have a very clear section that needs to be black, as on most car windscreens. So I started out with some Tamiya masking tape, single strip at a time, marked out the area that the edge that needed to be cut out with the toothpick, and then marked it again with a red pen so I could clearly see. Then I used a very sharp blade in the scalpel and carefully cut that out. I use a single piece at a time so you don't have the overlap that you need to cut into, and I find that's best to avoid trying to cut deeper sections so you don't cut into the plastic too much. And with all the masking done, I got some Vallejo matte black out and started painting. I thin coat to start with and allowed that to dry, and then just kept building the coats up until it was completely covered. And once it was dry, I very carefully removed the mask. You have to be extremely careful because being acrylic paints, it's very, very easy to scratch off. So you have to be extremely careful. Now the beauty of it being acrylic paints, if you do make a mistake, it will scratch off with a cocktail stick very easily. And once all the edges have been painted, we moved on with some Revell Contactor Clear for gluing in the windows, and carefully add just a very small bead around the edge of the window. And once all the window glue was dry, I moved on to fitting the headlamp buckets. Now these, when you actually clip them in, they do actually hold in place very well. If they fall out, you haven't got it in the right place. To glue these in, I just simply used some Revell contact adhesive. A small bead around the edge inside was enough just to hold them in place. Now to simulate the rubber seal around the edge of the light lenses themselves, I just used some black marker pen. And again, just using some of the Revell Contact Clear, I just added a few dabs of glue and then fitted the light lenses themselves. Now with all the lights installed, I decided to paint the top of the light buckets with some matte black just to finish that area off. There is a cover that goes over most of it, but it doesn't actually cover the top of the light buckets themselves. So I decided just to paint that some matte black just to finish off the look inside the bonnet area. Again, I've speeded this up for you. There were a couple of small front indicators, so I used some of the Tamiya Clear Orange and painted these whilst on the sprue as they were so small, and then once that was dry I carefully clipped them out. I apologise for the focus on this shot. And then once that was dry and clipped out, I used a small dab of the CA glue and then just carefully drop them in. Now it's time to move on to some of the decal work. So I decided to add the decal to the front grille before gluing it in for ease. There were some decals that needed to go over the rear lights, which gave them a black cover with a red edge. These are extremely fiddly to get in place. If I ever make this model again, I think I will actually mask and paint those rather than use the decal. They didn't sit very well even when they were dry, and using the auto sole still just could not quite get them to sit correctly. And whilst I was on the rear section, I decided to fit the rear emblem badge, and there was also a decal to go on there as well. And after fitting the wing mirror chrome pieces, I fitted the wing mirrors to the actual body. And then I fitted the rear spoiler. You can see here the problem I had with the fitting that fiberglass decal. Underneath it's all bunched up and looks horrible, but you can't see that, so it's not too much worry. And then it was time to actually fit the body to the chassis. This went on okay. It slid in. You needed to separate the bottom seals a little bit to get it to slide over. But all in all, it was quite a good fit. And with the body fitted, there were just a few little parts of the engine left, such as the air intakes and some pipe work and things like that. The engine cover, and that needed some decal work on the top, and then finished off with the strut which covers the top of the engine. And finally, it's the exhaust tips. I put a little bit of Vallejo black inside and then cleaned it up with a cotton bud, just to give the effect of the dirt inside, and then carefully stuck these on with some CA glue into the gaps provided. There were actually some guidance nubs that they were meant to fit on, but I mistakenly cut them off when I was cleaning the exhaust section up. And that's it, the model's complete. I hope you find that interesting. I hope you enjoyed the videos and the whole series. If you like it, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with any videos that come out. As always, thank you for watching.